anytime. All right, we're good?
Yep.
All right. So welcome everyone to the third week of the photography sessions, Discovering Photography. So I'm going to just go ahead and turn it over to Tyler to get going. So let's enjoy.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Thank you guys for taking some time out of your Friday morning to hang out with us. I'm really excited to be co-hosting and presenting to you guys this morning about portraiture. So just a quick introduction in case you don't know me. My name's Tyler Seal, and I'm the 4-H Youth Development Educator in Clay County. So, same job as Jennifer, Cheryl, some of you have Sarah, all of the educators in Area 5. So I'm really excited to be here. And also really fun is that my sister is the one who is helping present today. So her name's Marky, and I'll let you give your own little introduction.
Sure. My name is Marquita. Everyone calls me Marky. I am Tyler's older sister by 4 years. I live in northern Fort Thomas. I'm really close to Cincinnati, Ohio, ironically enough. I'm about 5 minutes from downtown. I work in kitchen design primarily. We design kitchens and do remodels like that. How I got into photography, actually I started with architectural photography. I would take photos of our completed projects, and then that kind of ignited a newfound love of taking pictures, and then I got into portrait photography, and I do that on the side in addition to my normal day job. So I do architecture and then portraits, usually like in the evenings and on the weekends. And I really love it. It's super fun, and it helps you like express that creative side. I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's funny. It kind of runs in our family because I do photography on the side as well. Obviously, the 4-H program is my full-time job, which I love, but it really does give you an expressive outlet afterwards. So we're both excited to do this. So we'll just jump right in. Today, we are talking about portraiture. Most of you have probably heard the word portrait, and that could be a couple different things. It could be a painting, a photograph, a sculpture, or really any other artistic representation of a person. And that's when the face and the facial expression is what's most predominant. So it's usually going to show a person looking directly at the camera, the painter, the photographer, or however you need to position yourself in order to most successfully engage with that subject. And so that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So are there any questions over what a portrait actually is? None? Okay. So who can tell me like what you think of when you think of a portrait? Does any famous painting come to mind, or picture, anything like that?
The Mona Lisa.
Exactly. That is the one that comes to my mind right off the bat. And so, she's not really smiling, and it's kind of like waist up, and you're just drawn to her face and her facial expression. So that's really the essence of a portrait and what we're trying to capture, and what we'll try to kind of mimic throughout our challenge. And so, in thinking about the Mona Lisa, she would be the subject. She's centered in the photo. The focus is really on her face. Often the background is subtle or maybe blurred out, and it's about from the waist up. So these are the things that we're kind of going to focus on for our challenge on Monday. But Marquita, sorry.
You can call me Marky.
Is going to, she's going to go more in depth about some tips and tricks that are really going to help you capture a really awesome portrait, whether you're using a professional camera or even your iPhone. You can achieve the same results just by sticking with a couple tips and tricks. So go ahead, Marky.
Yeah. So what I love most about photography, and especially, taking portraits, is everybody's creative eye is different. You could have two people taking pictures of the same subject, and you can get a totally different vibe from both, which I think is super cool. You can really show your personality, even if you're taking a picture of somebody else, through your photography. So that's what I love more than anything about portraiture is you can really express yourself. I found over the years, I've been doing this, I'd say for about 4 years on the side, and I find certain things helpful. So number one would be communication. Even though you're just taking a picture of somebody, you really want to keep that communication open, and you really want to be yourself. Sometimes when you're taking a picture of someone that maybe hasn't had their picture taken a lot, they're going to need some direction. Don't be afraid to say, tilt your head this way, bring your shoulders back, look at me. That's okay. That you can totally be open. And usually your model or subject will want that, because a lot of the times they're like, I don't know what to do. What do I do with my hands? And it's okay to guide them like that. That's totally fine. That's expected of you as the photographer. So communication is number one, and just being yourself, being comfortable with the person that you are shooting. The second tip I would say would be lighting. Very, very important. I like to shoot in natural light, meaning outside. I like to use the sunlight as my light. Lots of photographers do it in studio, which means they'll have studio lighting. But I love natural light. With a portrait, you're going to want to make sure their face is very well lit. I often find myself, if I don't have a well lit face in a photo, I'll have to go in and edit it, which is fine, but it's really nice to just have it naturally well lit without having to go in and touch it up. So play around with the sunlight when you're taking a picture outside of somebody. You can often find if you tilt their head a certain way, going under a tree, if the sunlight is too harsh and getting a little bit of shade on them, you can really elevate your picture by just playing with the natural light outside and how it's hitting their face and your subject. So that is lighting. And then another one I really like to focus on is posing, and that's what your subject is going to be doing in the photo. Normally when I'm taking a photo of someone, they're not going to be looking straight at the camera. Usually it's not the most flattering, or it's not the theme that we're going for. So I often, when preparing for a shoot, and that's something I really encourage you to do, if you are planning a session with someone, or you're like, I'm going to take my sister's pictures tonight, plan it. Go where you're going to take your pictures, look at your surroundings, and you can kind of like let those creative, juices start flowing, and think, okay, I'm going to put her here. I'm going to put her here. And think about the poses that you want her to do. And often I'll go online. YouTube has a lot of really good videos to show you how to pose your subject, or even Pinterest can give you really good examples of what to do. And a couple basic rules to remember if you're shooting a model, like one person, is, let's see, rules of thumb: keep your chin slightly down. Make sure their eyes are always in focus, because you're always going to be drawn to their eyes. So the focus really is on the eyes. Make sure they are in focus. Let's see. And like I said before, with communication, don't be afraid to encourage your model to like turn their head slightly to look at you, like make sure their eyes are on you, just so you're getting that good shot. And have fun with your subject. Get them to smile, crack jokes, be yourself. Seriously, that has made such a difference in my picture taking ability. Is I started off really shy and scared to really speak up. And once I started being myself and letting my personality out and having fun with my subjects, like my pictures turned out better, because we all felt comfortable. And that's the main thing. And my last tip is to be aware of your composition. That means when you're taking a picture of somebody, you're not going to want to accidentally cut off an arm or a leg. I've done that so many times where I think I have a great photo and I look at it and I've cut their arm off or I've cut their foot off and I'm like, oh my gosh, like how, I can't believe I didn't notice that. So if that's your intention to take a picture, you know, from your chest up, that's fine. But if you're wanting like a full body portrait or to get like their chest up, try to be mindful of where they're positioned in the photo. You know, you want to make sure you have their arms in and, you know, not cutting off the top of their head. And last but not least, practice makes perfect. I really suggest taking pictures of friends and family. That's who you're most comfortable with. The more you do it, the better you're gonna get. I mean, it really is just practice, practice, practice. No picture is a bad picture. You know, experiment on your friends and family, have a good time, and you know, that ultimately will help your pictures over time. It's just doing it and practicing and having fun with it. It doesn't have to be super serious. My sister and I was at her house, was it last weekend? And we went out in the field and just started taking pictures of her and her horses. And it was super fun. And we laughed and we joked. And, you know, I made fun of her a little bit to get her to smile. And it's fine. It's all sisterly love. So it was a good time. So just have fun with it. Yeah, Tyler, do you want me to talk any about camera settings or do you want to skip over that?
Sure. So you guys, tell me a little bit about like what kind of equipment you guys are using, like who here is using, you know, like a Canon or a Nikon or a cell phone. You know, you can raise your hand to speak, unmute, put it in the chat box. Just let us know kind of what you're working with so we can help you.
Racing around the house.
A Canon and an iPhone, Abby and Aaron, Canon T6, Nikon, iPhone camera, Canon. Okay, awesome. Marky, do you use a Nikon or a Canon?
I use a Canon. Yeah,
Okay.
I've always used the Canon.
Okay, awesome. Usually a Nikon, use iPhone. Okay, awesome. Phone and Canon. All right. Sounds good. Then, yeah, we can touch on like a couple settings for your iPhone and your camera because you can play around with it to make your shot look even better. But a lot of it is going to be the legwork beforehand, getting them set up, communicating with them, making sure your lighting is appropriate. So there's really a lot of work that can be done before you can hit snap.
Then
That
stop hitting me.
photo be a lot better quality. So we can we'll just talk about the iPhone really quick. Most of your iPhones now like have their own portrait mode on your camera. And I'm assuming everybody is familiar with how to get there. If not, you just open up your camera and then you'll slide the toggle from video to photo to portrait. And it actually will tell you when you're close enough to your subject. I think it's about 8 feet away. And, you know, it looks like it's zooming in a lot more than your regular camera on your phone. And that's because it's already ready to just really focus on the face. And it naturally blurs out the background for you, but you can control how much the background is blurred. And you can control what kind of lighting by pressing down on your phone and kind of scrolling through the little squares. And they'll show you like studio light, contour light, stage light. I prefer natural light, but that's a personal preference. You can get some pretty cool black and white pictures with your stage light though. So play around with that. You can get some pretty cool shots. And then after you take the photo is when you can go in and you can really edit how much the background is blurred and things like that. like your depth. So does anyone have any particular questions about using an iPhone for portraits? Okay, awesome. Then Marky, do you want to speak about using like a couple settings on your camera to help get really good shots?
Sure. So on a digital camera, I would suggest making sure your autofocus is on, especially if you're just kind of getting into using a camera like that. I learned that the hard way when I first started, and I thought I would just do manual, and I realized all my eyes and my faces were blurred, and someone's like, why are you doing that? Put autofocus on. So I put autofocus on, and all my pictures were clear. So I'm like, okay, let's do autofocus. So I suggest autofocus. That's gonna keep your eyes nice and clear on your subject, and everything nice and crisp. Now, when you think of like portraits, like Tyler said, usually your background is blurred. That's going to be where you're going to adjust to your aperture settings in your camera. Some cameras, your camera, you get to know your camera, but some you can have like aperture priority, and you can pick that setting, and it's just going to the camera's going to do the work for you, and it's going to set your aperture. Or you can go in and manually set it. If you're wanting a blurred background and you're manually setting your aperture, you're going to want to set it between 2.8 and 5.6. Your camera will say that. Some, like, it'll be a touchscreen, you can slide. Some it'll be on the side. I'm not too familiar with Nikons, but I do know the Canon, I just slide it on the scale. So you'll want to be 2.8 and 5.6, and you'll kind of get a feel of what you like. Some are more blurred than others. I'm usually around a 3 is where I'm at when I take my portraits. So autofocus, and then your aperture will be your main focuses to get that good, like, clear portrait shot, I would say.
So Gabriel says in the chat, he says many Canons have this, but his has a specific portrait mode that blurs the background depending on the level you want.
Yep. I have I think it's a T5. I have an older model, so I don't know if mine has that or not, but I might have to get one that has that, because that sounds nice.
Yeah, I have a T7i, and I don't know if it has portrait mode, but I always do the setting where it focuses on aperture, because I just love my background to be really blurred out of my photos. That really helps with that. But if you have a portrait mode, play around with that, and if it works for you, use it. If not, just go on just aperture settings and play with that and see if it can get you closer to what you want, because there's no like set black and white rules for what it has to look like. It's all very much up to your interpretation of how you want your photo to look, which I think is really the fun part about it.
Absolutely. I agree.
Awesome. So we've got about 10 minutes left. What questions do you guys have for us? It can be anything, and I'll do my best to answer. I know there's got to be something. Maybe you had a challenge with some of your, like last week's photo challenge, and you want some help with that going into this week's, or anything. Let's hear it.
So that Mia Rose and Maylin want to know how you take a good black and white photo.
Marky, do you want to
Sure.
take this? Okay.
So me personally, when I want a black and white photo, all my pictures that I take are normal in color. When I want to do a black and white photo, that is where editing will come in. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but a couple editing popular editing softwares are like Lightroom from Adobe, and then like Adobe Photoshop. That is where I will edit black and white. You can also do that on an iPhone. iPhone has great like settings that, I mean, anymore, the way technology is, sometimes I can't tell the difference if it's shot with an iPhone or with a camera. So iPhone has some great settings in there to prepare you to edit it into a black and white photo. Make sure the face is really well lit, because that'll usually be a lighter part of the black and white photo. So you're gonna wanna make sure your face is really well lit. And then you'll just take it into some sort of editing software on your computer or on your phone and edit it that way into a black and white. There are also some lenses and some settings in certain cameras that will shoot in black and white. I don't use those often, just because I like to have the option to keep it in color or black and white. So editing would be where that would come in, I would feel, if you wanted that black and white photo, for sure.
Yeah. The only thing I would add to that, or maybe just is lighting is so important when you go to edit it to be black and white, because if you're in really bright, harsh sunlight and then you go to edit to black and white, their face is not going to want to naturally pick up those different shades and hues, and it's going to just look really, really bright white.
Yeah, it'll look a little blown out. If you ever see pictures that look really, really bright, it's because there was too much light in the photo.
Yep. Good question.
Yeah.
Anything else?
So you guys can unmute and ask a question, or you can drop it in the chat box, either one.
I love that beach background. I'm jealous. I'm going to be on the beach.
They've always got like the most fun backgrounds.
Awesome.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm sure that you guys have questions out there, but you're just not wanting to ask me, and that's okay. So what we are going to challenge you guys to do is, over the weekend, take some photos of anyone. It can be your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your neighbor, anybody who you think is an interesting subject, and spend 30 minutes just taking their picture and try out some different angles. And like Marky said earlier, it's very rare that we're just gonna face you right here fully frontal. It's, if you have them turn and look sideways, tilt their head down and look at you, have their eyes looking off to the side. Just take a whole bunch of different pictures like that, and you'll be really surprised how many different looks and feels you can get when your subject is just sitting down and just rotating their shoulders and their head and their eyes just ever so slightly. You'll be able to get drastically different feelings from those photographs. So practice everything that we talked about today with your lighting. Go out there and see how your lighting's going to be. Me personally, if it's about 8 o'clock at night, you can probably find me taking pictures, because that sun is starting to set. It's softer, it's really warm and glowy, and I love that kind of feeling in my photos.
We call that the golden hour.
The golden hour, yes, it's my favorite. So practice with a couple different times of day. Early morning is nice, sunset is nice. So focus on your lighting. Make sure your subject's face is well lit. Look at angles. Your subject might be sad if they have a really big double chin in your picture because you didn't tell them to kind of move their head a little bit. Like when my sister's taking my pictures, but and
I had to take a few unflattering ones just to keep you humble.
Did you? So just, try and remember everything that we talked about today while you're taking these photos, and then pick your best one. And it can be black and white or in color. And then you'll send it to sullivances@purdue.edu. Is that correct, Jennifer? Okay, great. We'll throw that in the chat.
Yes. Yeah, it's up at the top, but I'll put it in again.
Okay, great. Did you guys have any issues submitting your photos last time? Someone give me a thumbs down if you had any issues submitting your photo.
And one other thing too, so we do the follow-up session on Monday at 10 a.m. And if for whatever reason you don't get that challenge completed, like you couldn't quite get it or you couldn't get your picture sent, don't let that keep you from joining us again on Monday. Go ahead and jump on and you can see some of the other pictures and still get some feedback on some good things, some things to improve. So don't feel like you can't join us if you don't have a picture.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly what Jennifer said. Even if, like, say you had a really busy weekend, I just didn't get to it, still come back on Monday at 10 a.m., hop on and look at all of the pictures that were submitted, because me personally, I've learned so much just by observing other individuals' photos and hearing people talk about, here's what you could have done better, here's what was really great about your photo, and then that's still going to help you incredibly. So make sure you hop on and join us still, even if you're not able to, but we do encourage you to take some time this weekend, even 30 minutes, and snap some portraits. But yeah, so if you guys don't have any other questions, I think that we can hop off, but Marky, do you have any last words to part with them before Monday?
Just have fun. It doesn't have to be super serious. And one thing that I've learned along the way is if something's not working out in your picture and you're just not happy with it, move on to the next one. Like, pictures are awesome. You can take them super quick. And if something's not working, just keep going and have them try something new. Experiment and have fun and be yourself. And you'll be surprised at, just by relaxing and trying different things, like you're going to get some really good shots, I think.
Excellent.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, we will thank you. You guys are awesome. I just love any opportunity I get to hang out with y'all. So enjoy your weekend. Happy Friday. It's supposed to be really awesome weather. Do something fun, and we will see you all on Monday, okay?
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
What kind of horses do you have?
I was waiting for that. I have quarter horses, and we have an bucking horse. So you know how in rodeos, like someone will ride a horse that bucks like crazy and jumps around and tries to off? We have one of those as well.
Who is that? Which one is the
Paint.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. And we work cattle on them and rope loose cattle, and do reining and things like that.
Well,
That's pretty
All right.
awesome. All right.
Yep.
Thank you, ladies.
Cool.
Thanks.
I was trying to keep the one little girl muted. She kept unmuting herself. Did you see her with her gum? Whee!
Oh, I know. I was like, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's
And she was fighting with her sister. I'm like, wait, you're unmuted again. I gotta mute you.
Yeah, usually it's Hannah and her brother who are unmuted and like loud, but they were pretty good today. So
It was just funny. Oh, well, you guys, thank you. That was good. So I'll be back on Monday with you.
all right, awesome.
Great.
See you.
All right,
Jennifer.
thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.